Well, this week we continue in our study of the problem of Jesus, and particularly this week, the problem of Jesus' stories. I'll read to you a familiar passage from Luke chapter 15. Jesus encounters the Pharisees who are sneering and muttering about how Jesus welcomes sinners and eats with them. Jesus gives a response to them, a response that shakes their world and shakes our world. You see, up until this point, there were many in the religious law-keeping sect of the Pharisees who would suppose that they were close to God, that they were in God's favor. And yet, Jesus turns the tables. Hear then what Scripture says. Luke 15, verse 11. Jesus continued, "There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, 'Father, give me my share of the estate.' So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off in a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in the whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. Then, when he came to his senses, he said, 'How many of my father's hired men have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired men.' So he got up and went to his father. But while he was a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' So they began to celebrate. Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked him what was going on. 'Your brother has come,' he replied, 'and your father has killed the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound.' The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, 'Look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders, yet you never even gave me a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours who has squandered your property with prostitutes comes home, you kill the fattened calf for him.' 'My son,' the father said, 'you're always with me, and everything I have is yours.' But we had to celebrate and be glad, because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Hello. Hi. Hi, Mom. I know. Yeah. I already talked to him. I'm not interested. I know that's how... Mom, I got to do some work. I'm here at the office. I just need to do some work. If I don't do it, no one else is going to do it, okay? All right. Yep. Yeah, oh. All right. All right, bye. Oh, I didn't even see you there. Oh my goodness. I suppose you heard the conversation with my mom. How long have you been here? Anyway, I guess I have to explain. I guess I normally don't talk to my mom like that. I'm really struggling right now with what's going on with my family, particularly what my dad is doing for my brother. He's throwing this big party for him. My brother, who has brought disgrace to our family. I'm just having trouble seeing how this is even worthwhile doing. It seems incongruous that we're going through all this effort to throw a party and to do all sorts of things to give him all these different gifts, when all he's done has been wasteful. I guess I could share you a little bit of backstory so you can understand a little bit further. And well, maybe you can help me with this, because it seems to me like I'm on my own island here. My brother and I grew up with my parents. We lived here in New Hampshire. Faithful churchgoers, faithful in the community. And my dad was this engineer who came up with patents at this company. And he did so well, he moved up into different senior levels, that he thought he can strike out on his own and start his own business. And so that's what we did as a family. We rallied. We scraped a few nickels together to be able to do it, and we cut corners and we made sacrifices, that's for sure. My dad went from working 60 hours to 80 hours to run this business. My mom, my brother, myself, we'd be working, at the office here, at the site, emptying garbage because we didn't want to pay for a custodian. My father ran everything in this company, and the company started taking off. We were involved in the church. We were involved in the community. With all the long hours, we would still get up on Sunday morning, my dad being half awake. My mom would prod us to go to church, and I would make something out of it. I helped out at VBS. I helped out with the youth group. I participated in all the setup and takedown. I kind of liked having people say, being involved and being recognized for being involved. And it translated also into how I supported my dad in his business. I would be around the office, around the site the whole time, watching my dad, learning, helping. And as a family, we rallied. Well, most of us did. My brother wasn't quite helpful. He often made us late for things, made us late for church. My parents were always after him about his grades. I worked hard. He seemed to skirt on by. And he'd go out partying with his friends as we entered into high school, and I covered for him even as he came in the wee hours in the morning. Business grew. I continued to participate in it and learn from different people in different departments of my dad's small business. And then we had enough money that we can go to college. I stayed local. I figured, you know what? I'm going to work at this business. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to grow into and take over at some point. So I went to a local school and put myself through school. We got some student loans, of course, but my dad and mom had put aside enough money. I got an MBA. I did work study programs with this job just to learn everything about engineering and the work that my dad did. My brother, he studied archaeology at the University of Oregon, as far away as he could go. And when he went to college, he didn't call us. He didn't call my mom and dad. He rushed to fraternity. He didn't finish school. He came back 6.5 years of being in school and without a degree to show for it, in debt. I was involved with the company the whole time, and I saw that this is 2002, so you figure we have this recession going on. It's hard for people to find jobs, and we were really pinching pennies. And my dad said, okay, we're going to make a space for your brother to work at this company. And so, we could have hired much more competent people. Well, we brought him in and we gave him work to do. Shortly after this time, my mom and dad had to care for my dad's sister, and it pulled them away a little bit. She was ailing. And so I was given the opportunity to run operations around here. And I'll tell you, it was a fun experience to do that. Challenging, but the most challenging part was keeping my brother in line. You'd have someone who reports to me, who my brother reported to, and he would come to me saying, why is this person work? It's hard. He's the boss's son. And it's hard to run a company when you cannot discipline someone because it's the boss's son. Bad example. The other employees didn't like the fact that there was sloppy work being done, that things weren't finished. He was late. He was leaving early. Things were not tick and tied. Well, the business still continued to grow over these years, and my brother and I are still working at this company for a good 10 years. And, he went out on his own to live in an apartment. I also lived in an apartment. My dad was telling us around 2.5 years ago that we would have some money set aside for us, that we would have money that was ours. It could be an inheritance, or it could be something that we'd have while he was alive. Didn't take my brother that long to come up for a reason to get the money. He always called my parents when he needed something. And now he found out there was money, so he came and he asked my dad for it. Oh, it was some unbelievable story. I'm surprised my dad didn't ask him more questions about it. That he had this business venture with his friend in New York. His friend from college, now a venture in New York, and well, my dad gave him the money. $150,000. Straight up. Cash. Well, not even a week later, my brother gathered all his stuff. We barely even said goodbye, and he left. He went to New York City. And just like when he went to college, he didn't text, he didn't call, he didn't email, the only way we'd get a hold of him is if he were constantly leaving messages on his voicemail, and then he'd call us back. He called my mom particularly. Meanwhile, I've been busy at work the whole time, keeping this company going, and we were deriving a good profit, developing a new solution for our local customers. But I spent some nights investigating my brother. We weren't able to reach him, but I was following him on Facebook a little bit. And I'd see, it wasn't him posting messages, but it was his friends. And it would be at some bar. And the picture, they're all hugging each other, and their eyes are glazed over, and they have a beverage in their hand, and it's dark, and they look like they're singing at the camera, and they look sloppy. Oh yeah, he was after his business venture, that's for sure. One Friday night I was up late, and I was really investigating. I looked at the places that they checked into on Facebook. I looked at the names of his friends and realized that they were all somehow tied to the adult entertainment industry. I was disgusted. guess I was looking for a reason to be disgusted. The Facebook posts stopped. Radio silence. I noticed that. My mom tried calling him, and the Verizon message on the phone said that the phone was discontinued, no longer in service. My parents were in a panic. This was around the time of March 2020. So we know that what was happening around our country, this almost like a famine, this COVID struck. And I was heads down on the business. We had to keep the supply lines going. We had to work with our vendors. We had to work with our customers. And we were concerned about everything in the office space. And here we are, my parents, my dad, getting really concerned about my brother. Where was he? What happened? My dad took me down to New York City a couple times. We gotta look for your brother. So we did. We went to all the places I could find on my phone that he tapped into, that he checked into. And that's where we got all the story. My brother would be sleeping on people's couches through that whole time. He'd be going from place to place, partying. We hear about the partying, we hear about the girls, we hear about just lavish drinking, going invited to different places and so forth. And of course, all the activities that took place. We heard about drugs. That surprised us. My dad started losing weight. My mom and dad couldn't sleep. He went down several times to New York City just to look for me. He put in a missing persons report. He went to Mercy Ministries in different places. He went to homeless shelters. He would go to all the different reaches of places we already checked, the different friends and people that we talked to, still to no avail. Rumor has it that, he was living under a bridge. Rumor has it that he was panhandling, or that he hitchhiked to New Jersey. But we don't know. My parents were concerned almost to the point of sickness and exhaustion, and that's where my role in the company started really taking off. That I would have to be focused and take up my work and my dad's work in this business. And then it happened. It was a Friday morning. I was out visiting one of our customers. I got a phone call. It went to message. It was my dad calling. I went to listen to the voicemail. We found your brother. He's coming home. That was it. And I thought, well, I'm glad we found my brother. I get back to the office and I'm back to work, and I didn't do anything else. So of course we had everybody in the church praying for him. So I was starting to get phone calls from different people, but I'm busy. I'm doing my work. We're going to keep this place going. I wanted to keep this place going and to earn, my reward through it. Well, anyway, come to find out, my brother comes home. The way it happened was, interesting. My dad was on his way to pick him up. He was on his way to find him. And he was in Connecticut. My brother called him and says, I want to come home. So my dad picked him up. And my dad called everybody who was praying on the way home, including our pastor. And so I got all the same phone calls from all the same people. And my dad announced that we're throwing a big party. And he gave him new clothes. He allowed him a place to stay at the house. And he gave him a decent vehicle. And we have to make a place for your brother in our business. And we're throwing a big party for him. Well, I'm going to have none of that. Where's my party? Where are all the things that you would give to me? Where's the acclaim? I have been faithful. I've been faithful in going to church and ministering there. I've been faithful at work. I've been faithful in doing all these things for my dad, slaving at this place, working long, and I'm not getting celebrated. And here it is, this moth that eats clothing, this locust that consumes everything you give him. Oh, surely, yeah, don't co-sign a loan with him because you'll be in debt. Oh, surely you'll invest in something, but it'll be lost, it'll be wasted, it will be cast away into oblivion. Anyway, the party's going on right now. It's been going on for over an hour. I can't go over there. My dad stopped by about 45 minutes ago. And he came in and he saw me working. This look of disappointment. Same look he gave my brother when he asked for money. And he was pleading with me to go to the party, be part of the family. We're all here. Come be a part of the family. And that's when I unloaded my shells on him. That's when I really gave him a piece of my mind. I said, look, I've been here slaving for you all my life. I've always been here. I didn't go away. And you're giving him everything. You're giving him the fattened calf. I didn't get a party from my friends. I didn't get any reward. And here he comes back into my world, and he's going to be part of this company. He's going to have a party. He has all this that you're giving him. And he was sad. He looked at me. He said, my son, all I have is yours. Everything I have is yours. And you've always been with me. But that we have to celebrate, because your brother was once dead, now is alive. He is lost, but now he's found. My dad left. Stormed, closed the door, sad, but he wanted to get back to that party. I saw him pull out of the parking lot, and I couldn't help but get past two things. His demeanor towards me was just like his face to my brother when my brother left him. And this comment about being lost. It's almost as if he was saying to me, in some way without verbalizing it, that I'm lost. Yeah, I'm lost. And I've been doing all these good things. I've been faithful. And yet, I really haven't wanted to be in relationship with my dad, I guess. It's been about my praise, my earnings, my good works. I guess I'm going to stop working right now. Am I lost? Each one of us was born lost. We were dead in our trespasses and sins, says the Apostle Paul. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. There is no one who does not sin. From the beginning, when Adam and Eve ate from the tree, the forbidden fruit, we all, like them, have become distant from God, alienated and estranged, and each in our own way followed after a course of destruction. What Jesus is revealing here, though, is there are multiple paths that lead to destruction. One is through the son who squanders the wealth his father has given him in wild living in licentiousness. But the other one is where the son is supposedly close to the father. The son who is supposedly religious and keeping all the commands. The son who did not, outwardly misappear or look wrong in others' eyes. And the warning to the Pharisees is that those who are self-righteous, those who think they have a quid pro quo relationship with the Father, are in just as much danger of being lost themselves. This is the scandal of the story. This is the problem of Jesus' story. It turns the table on any of us who would suppose that our goody two-shoes attitude, our religious law-keeping, our evangelicalese way of acting, our churchy lifestyle is in some way earning us some form of favor with God, when in reality it's a mirage. The reality is the Father seeks a relationship with all who are lost, that they might be found. And that relationship was secured and procured through Jesus Christ alone, who offered himself as a sacrifice of atonement, that our sins would be covered, would be paid for, our debts would be paid in full, and that by trusting in him we would have life. We would be found, once dead, now alive, born again, once lost, now we're found, once blind, now we can see. This is God's calling to you. You may be lost hearing this, living in a life of despair and separation. Outwardly, people can see it. Or you might be sitting in the church pew every week, living the Christian churchy life, and yet be distant from God. Jesus offers an invitation to you. As Ken had mentioned last week, or several weeks past, an RSVP offered to you to come to the banquet of God's love found only through Jesus Christ. Come and receive him. Come and be part of the work of heaven and the kingdom of God.